So tonight, on the wheat-free travel, tonight we're going to talk about some cookies. Some cookies that I found a recipe from Miss Danielle. And again, like I said, this is very informal. Miss Danielle Walker, who is the Against All Grain, she owns the Against All Grain website and blog, and she also is the Against All Grain recipe book that's out on Amazon right now. So this recipe comes from there. We'll be posting it later after the show. So please feel free. Just a second, I got to take something out of the oven. Yes, I was cooking ahead of time. And it's pretty hot, so second. And we'll keep those over here because that is what we're going to be making right there. We're going to be making chocolate chip cookies with no wheat and no gluten. And so to do this, we need a whole series of things. We'll kind of start over here. Let me move the can out of the way. What I start with, and these are not in the order, but they're just kind of the way I have them lined up here, is I have almond flour, right? In this case, I'm not endorsing, but I'm also just letting you know, having almond flour, about 1.5 cups of that. Then also we have coconut flour, right? And we're using 1/4 cup of coconut flour, actually 2 tablespoons of coconut flour. So 2 tablespoons of coconut flour, high in fiber, gluten-free. We're also doing some baking soda, about 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. Okay, so if you happen to see that you have some, get some new one. This one is one I just happen to have in the house. Oops, there you go. We're also using about 1/4 cup of coconut palm sugar. And I'm not real sure where I got this, but it is good. And it is a low glycemic index, believe it or not. Sea salt. Sea salt, we need 1/2 teaspoon, right? And I'll show you the order that all this goes in. Now, for the good stuff. This is the last of the dry ingredients, really. I have semi-hard and semi-sweet chocolate in here. I kind of have, I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's really 2 different kinds. There's the morsels that you'd normally see, and you need to make sure that if you're getting these, that they're gluten-free, right? And then also we have some 90% chocolate, dark chocolate that I bought in the health food section of the store that is also gluten-free, and those are mixed up. Now you can kind of put whatever you want in here. I believe Danielle uses Enjoy Life chocolate chips. I have 1/4 cup of that and 1/4 cup of dark chocolate. I like dark. I don't like milk chocolate whatsoever. So I'm using all dark chocolate, but 2 different kinds. Next, the recipe calls for 1/4 cup of palm shortening or grass-fed butter. I'm going with the butter aspect just because I don't have palm shortening at the moment. Also, 1 egg, 1 large egg, right, at room temperature. That's really what we're looking for, is 1 large egg at room temperature. Some vanilla. I can't live without vanilla. 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Again, everything is gluten-free. And then honey. So here's a little bit of sweet coming in, 2 tablespoons of honey. So 2 teaspoons of the vanilla, 2 tablespoons of the honey. So the trick is, when you get going, is that what we're really going to do is we preheated the oven over there. And in this food processor, which if you don't have one, I think you can use a blender, right? But make sure that as you use it, right, that if you're using a standard mixer or something like that, maybe an electric beater, that you don't go too much, because when you deal with the almond flour, what will happen is, hey, when you mix it up, you're going to make almond butter if you keep going too far. So reduce the flour, reduce coconut flour if you plan to double it, right, by 1 teaspoon. So instead of 3, you would use 3 teaspoons, tablespoons plus 2 teaspoons. Again, I'll put all this up on the link to Danielle's recipe on the website, but I just kind of walk you through and show you how easy this is. And it really is easy. So I'm going to take the wet ingredients, which will be the butter, right? Take the top off of this real quick. Take the butter, and I'm going to put that into my food processor. That one can go into the sink. Done. I'm going to take the egg that I had, yolk and everything, not afraid of cholesterol. There you go. I'm going to put that in there as well. Okay. Into the sink it goes. Vanilla, also into the sink. Right? And the honey. Now, the honey is obviously sticky, which honey always is. So it might need a little coaxing. We'll see how it works. And it's coming out, but it is sticky, obviously, very sticky. So while I let this drain out, we're going to take this and we're going to use this in the food processor here. We're going to spin this, and I have the plastic blades in, not the metal blades. But we're going to spin this for about 15 seconds, okay? And we just want to make sure that it's smooth and fluffy. So while I'm doing that, there's another piece of this recipe that isn't really mentioned that much, but is very important, and that would be the use of parchment paper. And parchment paper is our friend. And parchment paper is going to allow us to form the cookies. And I have a piece here, and I have a piece over there. The recipe will make 12. I tend to like bigger cookies, so I usually only get 9 to 10. But again, you can do that on your own. Now, here's in the food processor, right? We're going to put the top back on, so hopefully I won't make a mess. I have made messes in the past. And we're going to run this for about 15 seconds. After that, we're going to take and put in the dry ingredients that we have over here, minus the chocolate, right? We're going to do the chocolate last, and we're going to do it by hand, or in this case, by spatula, right? So about 15 seconds on the old food processor here, so never mind the noise. Bear with me for a second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. So as soon as we've done that, we're going to check to make sure that the sugar, oh, did we forget something? Oh, we did. We forgot the sugar. So we'll go back. We'll add the sugar. Good thing I didn't do it for too many 15 seconds. We're just going to make sure this is fluffy. I'm going to mix this in again. And that's the sound I was listening for. Just a little bit of braininess. And the idea is to make sure this is as fluffy as I can get it. And that should probably do it right there. Because we're going to do a little bit more here in a second. I'm going to take this to the side, right? And now we're going to take the dry ingredients. And the dry ingredients, again, is the 1.5 cups of almond flour. I'm going to put that in, right? Again, to the sink it goes. We're done with that. The coconut flour that we had, right? That goes in. The baking soda. Okay. And lastly, the sea salt. Now these cookies are not excessively sweet, right? And the salt just gives it just a little bit more flavor that you can take hold of. Now, comes the tricky part, right? So we need to blend this, but we only need to do it for about 30 seconds. Because the more we do it, the more likely we are to get something that won't form. But once I'm done, I'm going to use my spatula, and I'm going to push it down the side so I can pump it about 2 or 3 more times. So here we go. And while this is doing that, you'll notice that it's going to clump up a bit. But unfortunately, even though it's clumping up a bit, we will be able to push the excess down to the sides. I'm not very good on minutes of time. We'll see how far this goes. Now it sounds like it's not to a point where I need to push it down a little bit. So we'll take the top off again. Take the handy dandy spatula and break it down around the sides. Make sure it's mixed up inside there, right? Okay, and put that back on the top. Oops, left some. Use that. Just a little bit more. Of course, make a mess, obviously. Putting that down the top, and now we're just going to bump it 2 or 3 more times. You might notice that the light's dimming when I do that. That's impressive. And now that's mixed. Now here comes the good part, right? So the good part, obviously, is when the chocolate comes in. So I'm going to take the top off. Done with that. Into the sink it goes. And I'm going to take out my spindle, my blade. Into the sink it goes. And now I'm going to take this, pull it off, put it in my mixing bowl, because that's where I'm going to dump the chocolate in. I've done it inside the food processor before. I'm not exactly a fan of that. This is clean up much harder. But bear with us for a second as we get all the good pieces out. Now again, this is not going to look like much batter. And also note that here in a couple of seconds when we add in the chocolate, you'll kind of want to mix that up really well. I have had occasion in the past to omit a couple of cookies of chocolate, knowing which ones they were, so that when I took them, I would make sure I got the ones with extra chocolate. So that's all done. Fine. Into the sink it goes. And now for the last phase. Take a little bit of paper. Go by. Now for the last phase. And the last phase is when you put the chocolate in, at least of the mixing portion. So dump the chocolate right in. Into the sink it goes. Right. Now we have a nice, easy way of putting everything into the dishwasher because we need to keep the pipes warm because it's really cold here. Just keep washing those dishes. I'm going to mix this up. And all I'm doing is I'm just churning in the chocolate chips into the batter, right? And again, I typically actually leave some batter that doesn't have any. Now the consistency of this batter is going to be such that when you place it down on the parchment, right, it's not going to rise. It's not like regular cookie dough. So it won't rise up and form this big, huge cookie that you're used to because it doesn't have the gluten in it, nor the yeast, right? So the trick is as you put this in here, let me wash my hands real quick because I've been handling a lot of stuff before I do this. I'm going to wash up my hands with soap and water, warm water, 20 seconds worth, just to make sure we're getting clean. Right. And I think we're done. Move this out of the way so I don't trip into the bag. And here we go. Nice and clean for the moment. Because in the next few moments, we're going to take the cookie dough and we're going to put it on the parchment paper. And in order to do that, I am going to use a tablespoon. And I'm using a tablespoon because that's just about the size that I want these cookies. So as I reach in and grab it, I'm just going to plop it down, right? Now you can form these by hands. The first time I did this, I basically rolled the dough up into a little ball, like the size of a golf ball. I'm just doing this as fast as we can because I know that there's cookies to be had, and I want to get through them as quickly as I can. So again, this should make about 12 if you use the recipe appropriately. I'm probably going to get around, I don't know, maybe 8 because I'm making cookies that seem a little bit larger than they have been in the past, but that's all right. And again, the parchment paper is your friend. Not a fan of using the oil, mainly because some of it's treated, especially the non-stick kind. I'm not a fan of putting non-stick materials down on the pan either because those also have excess chemicals that I'm not interested in. So I'm actually going to get 12. But they're actually sort of small. So you notice I'm getting that extra chocolate piece, that one last scoop. Now this piece of parchment paper, and I'll show it to you here in just a second because I know you probably can't see it. This piece of parchment paper is the piece that we'll cook on, right? So this piece is the piece that we'll cook on. Now, if you cook them just the way they are, they're going to brown and they're going to stay in that shape when people won't really recognize them as cookies. They'll recognize them as chocolatey cookie things. So the trick, and this is pretty cool, is to take another piece of parchment paper, lay it on the top, and press the cookie out to the shape that you want it to be. Again, this particular recipe, the cookies aren't really going to grow in size. They may flatten out just a little bit more, but for the most part, they're going to stay the same shape they are on the sheet. Now, just pull that off. Right? Now, obviously, I have a little bit too much coconut flour because it's sticky. Normally, it doesn't stick. Anyway, I do remember that I used too much. Now, my oven over there is at 350 degrees, and we're going to bake these for 9 to 12 minutes. Into the oven it goes. I'll be off camera just for a second. So, it's going to be about 9 to 12 seconds. Hang on a second, 9 to 12 minutes again. So when that's done, you'll hear a bing, 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 and out comes your chocolate chip cookies. Yum yum. Notice that this one has no chocolate chip in it, so I have cheated again and put most of them in this one and that. So that's it for today. Again, very quick recipe, very quick broadcast. This has been chocolate chip cookies with almond flour and coconut flour, and I am the wheat-free traveler. Next week, maybe I'm traveling, maybe I'm not. Either case, we'll have something interesting for you to see. Have a great time. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye now.